Behind every legend lies a reason. This is Myth and Motive.
The steady, unnerving beep of the hospital monitor was the only sound in the room, a metronome counting down to something final. For the last 7 days, every time that sound stopped, Michael felt a wave of profound relief wash over him, believing the ordeal was finally over. And every time it started again, a thick, metallic taste flooded his mouth. The taste of ozone and old pennies, as his body violently jerked back to life. His skin was perpetually clammy, a cold sweat that had nothing to do with fever, and the air in the room felt dense, like wading through water. In the dead of night, he began to hear it. A faint, wet scratching from inside the walls, synchronized not with the beeps, but with the terrifying silences between them. The doctors called it a miraculous, if unstable, recovery. Michael knew the truth was far more sinister. He wasn't healing. He was being kept, tethered to this world by a machine that was, with each jarring revival, methodically unspooling his very sanity. And the thing in the walls was growing impatient, its whispers now carrying the scent of damp earth and decay on the still hospital air. In a dimly lit room, John Mercer sits hunched over, his frail frame trembling uncontrollably. A faint odor of ozone and stale sweat hangs in the still air around him. For 427 days, not a single morsel of food has passed his lips. The only sounds are the low hum of the battery and the ragged catch of his own breath. He hasn't slept for more than 20 minutes at a time. His heart hasn't beaten on its own in over a year. This isn't science fiction. Our story begins in Austin, Texas, where electrical engineer John Mercer lived with his wife Sarah in a quiet suburban home. John was a natural problem solver, a man who could diagnose and fix anything with wires and circuits. But his greatest challenge wouldn't be found in any schematic or manual. It would require rewiring his own body to survive and exact a horrifying price with every conscious moment. Life was normal until the fainting spells began. John and Sarah were laughing at a backyard barbecue, the air thick with the smell of charcoal and grilled meat. It was the last day any of them would remember as truly normal. In his garage, John worked on his drone, the scent of ozone and motor oil hanging in the air. Doctors first dismissed his symptoms as stress, then blamed a faulty thyroid. The diagnosis shifted to a rare nervous system disorder, a label that explained nothing. Yet with each medical opinion, John's strength only continued to seep away. His heart would stall without warning, plunging him into collapse. In the grocery aisle, under the shower's stream, slumped at his desk, his body's internal battery, the silent engine that powers us all, was failing terminally. The air in the room grew heavy with the scent of ozone and stale sweat, a metallic taste lingering on his tongue. Each episode left him with a clammy, cold dread, his skin prickling as if touched by unseen static. The doctors' voices were grim through Sarah's phone recording. John's natural pacemaker, the sinoatrial node, was failing irreversibly. They tried implanting an artificial pacemaker twice. His body violently rejected both attempts, leaving no options. The scent of antiseptic and ozone hung in the air as they delivered their final verdict. John was sent home with only palliative care, the heavy finality of those words settling like a damp chill. A countdown had begun. Sarah watched the light in her husband's eyes dim, replaced by the cold fear of a man waiting for his own heart to simply stop. But John Mercer was an engineer. Faced with a broken machine, his instinct wasn't to mourn. The air grew heavy with the scent of ozone and cold metal. His breath hitched, a raw, scraping sound in the oppressive silence. He had to access the panel and find a workaround. Surrounded by his studies, a monstrous idea began to take shape in the dim light. The smell of ozone and soldering flux hung in the air as he examined his tools. Soldering irons, oscilloscopes, lithium-ion battery packs. If his body wouldn't provide the electrical impulse to make his heart beat, he would engineer one himself. From the outside, he'd fashioned a vest lined with conductive gel pads, wired to a variable power supply. He called it the driver. John, the heart is just a pump. A pump needs a spark. I can be the spark. I have to be. The first trial on himself nearly ended it all. Sarah poised with a defibrillator as his body convulsed. The initial shock was too potent, flooding his system with raw, crackling energy that threatened to snuff him out. But on the second attempt, his heart thumped back to life with a deep, resonant beat that echoed in the sterile air. Once, a jolted, mechanical beat. It was the most horrifying success imaginable. The air grew heavy with the sharp tang of ozone and the coppery scent of fresh wiring. Every jolt of the machine felt like a cold, damp fist clenching around the room. In the dim garage, John stood with wires crudely taped across his chest. He drew a ragged breath, the scent of ozone sharp in the air, then threw the switch. His body convulsed violently, muscles locking in a grotesque arch for a single, terrifying moment. As the tension released, he slumped forward with a ragged, desperate gasp. A solitary, definitive beat from a heart monitor echoed in the sterile room. John had achieved his grim ambition. He had become his own pacemaker. But this was no cure. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone and cold iron. It was a trade, a terrible bargain struck with the machinery now lodged in his chest. His existence had become a new, specialized hell. John's universe now consisted solely of the confines of his driver unit. A custom backpack, its weight a constant, oppressive companion, housed the lithium battery pack that emitted a perpetual, low hum. Every 0.8 seconds, with cruel precision, it discharged a 3-volt pulse through the wires embedded in his chest. The air carried the sharp, metallic scent of ozone with each jolt, a sensory marker of his torment. Thump, thump, thump. The present day. John moves through a mundane routine, his frame painfully thin. Dark hollows, like fresh contusions, shadow his eyes as he performs each simple task. The air in his apartment carries a stale, metallic scent, clinging to the back of his throat. His movements are mechanical, a fragile ghost haunting the spaces of his own life. Every motion was precise, calculated. He couldn't shower unless the unit was sealed in a waterproof case. He couldn't embrace his wife without the hard casing of his vest between them. The constant, rhythmic click hum of the device was a ceaseless companion. The psychological toll was devastating. His world had shrunk to the dimensions of this machine. Every second was measured by its mechanical pulse, a metronome of dread that counted down moments he could never reclaim. He was enslaved by a rhythm not his own. Sleep remained impossible. The machine didn't dream. If it stopped, he died. A truth as sharp as ozone in the air. He existed in perpetual, adrenaline-soaked awareness. Each artificial heartbeat, a tiny internal electrocution. He just stared at his hands, motionless, for minutes at a time. In a broken whisper, he'd murmur, "I can feel the current in my fingertips. I can taste metal." The air carried the faint, sharp scent of ozone and cold iron. My brother John was gone. In his place was something else. A system, running on a current I couldn't see. Then, the physical degradation began. The relentless current started cooking the tissue beneath the pads. His skin burned, scarred, and turned necrotic, filling the air with the sickly sweet scent of cooked meat and ozone. He was forced to move the pads, hunting for patches of unspoiled flesh to channel the current through. John's torso was a cartography of torment. Livid welts and leathery scars mapping years of agony. The air held the sterile tang of antiseptic and the faint, metallic scent of old blood. His voice was a flat, detached monotone, devoid of all feeling. "I have to rotate the sights," he stated. "The chest wall is failing." John's viable connection points were dwindling fast. The climax wasn't a single event, but a creeping, silent realization. It was captured in stark, unforgiving detail by his own home security feed. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone and old dust as he stood paralyzed, the truth settling in his bones. He remained motionless, his gaze fixed on the blank wall. With deliberate slowness, he unzipped his backpack and peered at the battery's charge indicator. The display read a stark 15%. He made no move to plug it in. He simply stares for an entire minute. His expression is utterly vacant. Then, with a slow, unnatural precision, he moves. A faint, sharp scent of ozone fills the air as he inserts the plug into the wall socket. Without a flicker of hesitation, he guides the other end and presses it firmly against his own bare chest. The man remained utterly still. In that frozen instant, the terrible truth crystallized. He wasn't charging the machine. The machine was powering him. John Mercer had ceased to be human. He was now a vessel for the device. He had become a component of it, a living, suffering battery terminal. The air tasted of ozone and old rot, a cold, sticky dread clinging to every surface. So where does this story end? John is still alive today. Technically, John sat by the window, a wire trailing from his clothing to the backpack on the floor. He avoided looking at the camera. The air in the room felt thick and stale, carrying the faint, metallic scent of ozone. Every few seconds, a soft, rhythmic click emanated from the pack, out of sync with the rain tapping the glass. His focus remained fixed on the world outside, a deliberate act of not acknowledging the device at his feet. He watches a bird land on the fence outside. He survived his ordeal, but he does not truly live. Now he is trapped within a paradox of his own brilliant, terrible creation. He cheated death by forging a pact with a different end, a conscious, endless erosion. Sarah's voice, a ghostly whisper in the darkness. I miss my husband. He's right there, but I lost him the day he chose to live. The air in the room grew thick with the scent of old paper and something metallic, like dried blood on copper. A low, rhythmic scratching began inside the walls, syncopated with the slowing tick of the mantel clock. And the final, haunting question isn't for John, it's for you, hanging in that stagnant, waiting silence. The camera slowly pushes in on John's eyes, reflecting the window light as if they were polished glass. The steady, metronomic click hum of the driver grows louder, drowning out all other sound until it becomes the only rhythm in the room. At what point does the solution become more monstrous than the problem it was meant to solve? How much of yourself would you sacrifice, not just to survive, but to become the very mechanism that keeps you prisoner? John Mercer didn't cheat death. He traded his humanity for a different kind of existence. He'd outsourced it, and now he serviced the debt with each unnatural thud of his transplanted heart. A metallic tang, like ozone and old blood, clung to the back of his throat with every ragged breath. The relentless click hum from the device in his chest was the only sound in the heavy, still air. Each mechanical pulse was a stark reminder of the terrible price now permanently grafted to his being. The screen snapped to black for 3 long seconds, only a void and total quiet. Then, the credits began their silent crawl. From that emptiness, the faint, mechanical click and hum of the driver seeped back in, a ghost in the machine, playing endlessly beneath the text.